When my family finally called me after years of silence, I did not pick up the phone right away. I just sat there in my quiet living room, the late afternoon light coming through the curtains, watching the screen light up again and again with my brother's name. I felt that familiar ache deep in my chest, the one that had lived there for so long I almost forgot it was there. They had not spoken to me in years. They had acted as if I no longer existed. And now, all of a sudden, they wanted to reach out. The reason was simple, though it hurt more than I can say. They had just learned the truth. The company where my brother worked, the one that paid for their comfortable house, their cars, their vacations, their everything, it belonged to me. I was the owner. The one who signed every check, approved every bonus, and quietly made sure they never had to worry about money. I never planned for things to end up like this. Truly, I did not. All my life, I had hoped for a close family, the kind that gathers around the table on Sundays, shares stories, and holds each other through hard times. The kind that loves you no matter what you have or do not have. But sometimes life gives us hard lessons instead of gentle dreams. Sometimes it shows us who people really are when the light changes. My name is Anna. I grew up in a small town about 2 hours from the city, in a little house with white siding that needed painting every few years and a tiny front porch where my mother kept flower pots in summer. My parents, my older brother Mark, and I, we were all squeezed in together, 4 people in 3 small bedrooms. My father worked long shifts at a local factory, coming home with grease under his nails and tired eyes, but he would still find time to sit with me on the old couch and tell me about the stars or how engines worked. My mother stayed home, cooking simple meals like meatloaf and mashed potatoes, baking bread on Saturdays so the house smelled warm and sweet. Money was always tight. We counted every dollar at the grocery store. Birthdays meant one small gift, carefully chosen, and Christmas brought maybe 2 presents wrapped in newspaper to save wrapping paper. But the house felt safe. We laughed at the dinner table over silly things. We played board games or cards on rainy afternoons when the power went out. We went for walks in the woods behind the house and picked blackberries in late summer. I thought that was love. I thought it would last forever. When I was 12 years old, my grandfather died. He was my mother's father, a quiet man who lived alone in a small apartment in the city. We hardly saw him, maybe once or twice a year. He sent birthday cards with a crisp $10 bill tucked inside, and sometimes a short note saying he hoped I was doing well in school. That was all. At his funeral, I stood in the cold rain beside my mother, holding a black umbrella, feeling sad but not truly close to him. He had always seemed distant, like a shadow in our family pictures. A few weeks after the funeral, a lawyer came to our house one evening. He was a kind older man with glasses and a gray suit. He sat in our living room with a thick folder full of papers. My parents told Mark and me to go play in our rooms, but I stayed quiet in the hallway and listened. My grandfather had left everything to me. Not to my mother. Not shared with Mark. Just me. There was a company, a small factory that made metal parts for machines, and there was money in bank accounts and investments, more than our family had ever seen in one place. My parents were stunned. My mother sat on the couch with her hand over her mouth, tears in her eyes. My father paced the floor, asking the lawyer over and over why a 12-year-old child would get everything. The lawyer explained calmly that it was my grandfather's clear wish, written and signed. He had saved the letters I sent him every few months, simple letters about school plays, report cards, little drawings I made. Those letters meant something to him. He saw something in me, even from far away. After the lawyer left, the house felt different. My parents spoke in low voices late into the night. The money was put into a trust until I was older, and my parents were named as managers. At first, I thought nothing would change. But slowly, things did. We moved to a bigger house on the edge of town, one with 4 bedrooms and a real backyard. Mark started at a private school with new uniforms. My parents bought a newer car, one that did not break down all the time. They took us on a vacation to the beach, the first real vacation we ever had. We stayed in a little motel near the ocean, built sandcastles, ate ice cream every night. They told me the money was for all of us, that it belonged to the family now. I was happy. I thought it brought us closer. I thought we were finally comfortable, and comfort would make us love each other more. But as the years passed, I began to feel the shift. Mark got new clothes first, the ones from the nice stores. Mark got the bigger bedroom in the new house. Mark was the one they praised at dinner for good grades or winning a soccer game. I was quieter. I liked reading books under the big tree in the yard or helping my mother in the kitchen. I did not need much attention. I did not mind at first. I loved my brother. I loved my parents. I wanted them to be happy. I thought that was what family did. We shared, we gave, we made room for each other. When I turned 16, I started visiting the company during summer breaks. My parents did not encourage it, but I asked, and they let me go. The factory was an hour's drive away, in an industrial park with big buildings and the smell of metal and oil. The older managers there remembered my grandfather well. They spoke of him with respect, calling him a fair man who cared about his workers. They showed me around, let me watch the machines, taught me how orders came in and parts went out. I listened carefully. I asked questions. I took notes in a little notebook I carried. Something about the place felt right. It felt like a connection to the grandfather I barely knew. By the time I turned 18, the trust became mine completely. I could make decisions. My parents sat me down one evening and suggested I let them keep helping manage things. They said I was young, still in school, and the company was complicated. But I had already decided. I went to college for business, a good school not too far away. During summers and holidays, I worked full-time at the company. The older managers became my teachers. They showed me how to read financial reports, how to negotiate with suppliers, how to listen to workers when they had concerns. I worked on the factory floor sometimes, wearing safety glasses and learning alongside everyone else. I worked harder than anyone because I wanted to prove I deserved what my grandfather had given me. The company grew under my care. I made careful choices. We bought better machines that were safer and faster. We added new product lines. We hired more people from the local area, giving jobs to families who needed them. Profits increased year after year, but I kept things quiet. I did not buy fancy things for myself. I did not tell many people who I really was. I wanted respect for the work, not for the money. Back home, the distance grew wider. My parents talked more about Mark's successes, his college acceptance, his new girlfriend Sarah, his plans for the future. When Mark and Sarah got married, my parents planned a beautiful wedding in a garden hall with flowers everywhere. They paid for everything, the dress, the food, the music. I helped too, quietly sending money from the company accounts. No one thanked me directly. Sarah was bright and talkative, always the center of attention. She smiled a lot, but sometimes her words felt sharp when she spoke about me. She would say I was always so serious, always working, never any fun. My mother would laugh softly and agree. My father would change the subject. After college, I moved to the city near the company headquarters. I bought a small apartment with one bedroom and a tiny balcony where I kept a few plants. I kept my life simple. I drove an old reliable car. I wore plain clothes to work. I wanted people to respect me for my decisions, for how I treated employees, not for money they thought I had. My family called less and less. At first it was weekly, then monthly, then only on birthdays or holidays. Then even those calls became short. Holidays turned into excuses. They would say the drive was too far or that they were too busy with Mark's children. One Christmas, when I was 32, I decided to surprise them. I loaded my car with gifts, toys for my nieces and nephews, a scarf for my mother, a tool set for my father, and drove the 4 hours home. The snow was falling lightly as I pulled into the driveway. The house was bright with lights. I could hear laughter inside. When I opened the door with my old key, the warmth and smells of dinner hit me. Mark's children ran around in new pajamas, chasing each other. The Christmas tree sparkled with ornaments and lights. Everyone looked up when I walked in. For a moment, the room went quiet. Then my mother came over and hugged me, saying they had not expected me at all. My father nodded and smiled, but it felt polite. Sarah looked surprised, then recovered with a bright smile. We ate dinner together at the big table. The food was wonderful: turkey, stuffing, pies my mother had baked. Conversation flowed around Mark's promotion at work. He had a good management job at the company, one I had quietly arranged years earlier when he applied. Sarah talked about redecorating the house and the children's school plays. My parents asked the grandchildren about their gifts from Santa. No one asked me about my life, my apartment, my days at the office. No one asked how the company was doing. I smiled through it all, helped clear plates, washed dishes beside my mother in silence. I left early the next morning before everyone woke up, driving back through the snow with an empty feeling in my chest. After that Christmas, the silence grew longer. Months passed without a call. Then years. 5 years. Then 10 full years. I sent birthday cards to my nieces and nephews with small gifts inside. I sent flowers to my mother on Mother's Day. I made sure the company gave generous raises and benefits to all employees, including Mark's department. My parents retired early with comfortable pensions paid by the same company. They bought a motorhome and traveled sometimes. They posted pictures online of beaches and mountains. I saw them because I still checked, quietly, from afar. They never knew I was the one approving those pensions, signing those checks. I lived alone in the city. My days were filled with meetings, factory visits, late nights reviewing numbers. The company had grown very large. We supplied parts to companies all over the country. We employed thousands of people. Their families depended on us for steady work. I was proud of what we built, but the pride felt lonely. I made good friends at work, people who respected my decisions and shared coffee breaks with me. I traveled sometimes on quiet vacations to places with mountains or oceans, walking alone and thinking. I dated a few kind men over the years, but nothing lasted long. They said I was hard to reach, always thinking about work. Maybe they were right. Some nights I lay awake in my bed, listening to city sounds outside the window, wondering why my own family had drifted so far away. Was it the money that changed them? Did they resent that my grandfather chose me? Or had they always favored Mark, and the money just made it easier to show? I thought about calling them many times. My hand would hover over the phone. I would start to dial, then stop. I was afraid of hearing excuses, or worse, cool voices that made me feel small again. So I stayed quiet. I told myself I was fine alone. I had the company. I had purpose. Then one ordinary Tuesday morning in spring, everything changed. The company was preparing to sell a small part of itself to the public. It would bring in money to build a new factory and create more jobs. Legal papers had to be filed with the government. Names had to be listed clearly. A business journalist found the documents while doing research. She wrote a long article about the quiet heir who took a small family factory and turned it into a national company. The headline called me the hidden owner who built an empire in silence. My full name was there. Anna Thompson, sole owner and chairperson. The article spread quickly. Local television news picked it up that evening. Then bigger papers and websites. People at work came to my office with congratulations and kind words. Old college friends sent messages saying they were proud. Even strangers wrote emails sharing how the company had helped their towns with jobs. That same evening, my phone began to ring. First it was Mark. When I finally answered days later, his voice sounded shocked and a little excited. He asked if it was really true, if I owned the company where he had worked for 15 years, climbing the ladder to a senior position. Next came messages from my mother, her voice soft and tearful on voicemail, saying how much they had missed me all these years and wondering why I had never told them such important news. Then Sarah called, suddenly warm and chatty, suggesting we all get together soon for a big family meal, maybe at their house. My father called last. His voice was low and steady. He simply said he was proud of me. I listened to each message several times. I sat on my couch in the dark apartment, feeling quiet tears slide down my face. The words sounded kind on the surface, but they rang empty after so many years of silence. I knew why the calls were coming now. I knew what had changed. A few weeks later, after thinking it through carefully, I agreed to meet them. We chose a small cafe halfway between the city and their town, a quiet place with wooden tables and soft lighting. I arrived early and sat by the window, watching rain slide down the glass in gentle lines. The coffee smelled warm when it came. They arrived together, walking in with umbrellas dripping. They smiled too widely, hugged me a little too long. We ordered drinks and cakes. At first they talked about old memories, the beach vacation when we were younger, Mark and Sarah's wedding day, stories about the grandchildren growing up so fast. They showed me pictures on their phones of school events and birthday parties. Then, slowly, the questions came. How big was the company really now? How many people worked there? Were there opportunities for other family members to join? Maybe cousins looking for good jobs? Perhaps some investment advice for retirement savings? I listened without interrupting, stirring my coffee slowly. When there was a natural pause, I spoke softly. I asked them why they were here now, after all the years when no one called, no one visited, no one asked how I was. The table went quiet. Rain tapped against the window. Mark looked down at his cup, turning it in his hands. My mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Sarah smiled nervously and looked away. Mark finally spoke, saying life had been so busy with children and work and everything moving so fast. My mother added that they always thought I was busy too, with my important life in the city, building something big. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of their words. Then I told them what was in my heart. I said I had loved them always, more than they probably knew. I had helped quietly for years because they were my family, blood family, and I wanted them safe and comfortable even when they forgot about me. I had made sure their jobs were secure, their benefits generous, their retirements peaceful. But family does not disappear for 10 years and then return only when money and power appear. My mother reached across the table for my hand, tears falling freely now. She whispered that she was sorry, that they all were. Mark nodded, eyes red. Sarah said they had made mistakes but wanted to fix things now. I believed they felt regret in that moment. I truly did. But I also knew the timing. I knew what had opened their eyes and hearts so suddenly. I stood up gently, left enough money on the table for everyone's drinks, and walked out into the soft rain. I did not look back. The cool air felt clean on my face. That meeting was several months ago. These days, my life is calmer than it has been in years. The company continues to grow steadily. I spend more time walking through the factories, talking with workers, hearing their ideas. I mentor younger employees who remind me of myself, quiet, hardworking, wanting to prove themselves. I have good friends now, real ones who know my story and sit with me over simple dinners. I take long walks in the park near my apartment, watching seasons change. I sleep better than I have in a long time. Letters still come sometimes. My mother writes long notes about the grandchildren's school projects and little daily things. Mark sends shorter messages asking how I am and sharing small updates. Sarah includes printed photos of family gatherings, holidays, birthdays. I read every letter carefully. I sit with a cup of tea and feel the sadness rise, theirs and mine. The regret we all carry in different ways. I have forgiven them in my heart, because holding on to hurt only weighs me down. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means choosing peace. But I keep my distance still. Trust, once broken so deeply, takes more than a few letters and apologies to mend. Maybe one day the distance will feel smaller. Maybe we will sit together again and talk about ordinary things without shadows. Maybe not. For now, peace is enough. Quiet mornings, meaningful work, and the knowledge that I am okay on my own. I have learned something important through all of this, something I wish I had understood sooner. Real family is not only the people we are born to. Real family is made of those who stay through quiet years, who call on ordinary days, who love you when you have nothing to offer but yourself. Money has a way of showing us people's true hearts. Sometimes it brings out kindness and generosity. Sometimes it shows something sadder, how quickly love can feel conditional when wealth enters the picture. I am grateful every day for the company my grandfather left me. It gave me purpose, strength, and the chance to help thousands of families live better lives. But the greatest gift he gave me was teaching me, without ever saying it directly, to stand on my own, to build something honest, to value people for their effort and heart. If my story leaves you with anything at all, let it be this gentle truth I hold close now. Love people for who they are, not for what they own or what they can give. Show up for them on the quiet days, the ordinary Tuesdays, the long stretches when nothing special is happening. Because in the end, what matters most is the warmth we give and receive when no one is watching, when there is no reward except knowing someone feels less alone. Thank you for listening to my story. Sharing it here, speaking it into the quiet, has lightened my heart a little more. I hope it touches yours in some small way too. I wish you peace that stays, real connection that grows slowly and surely, and love that does not wait for reasons. Good night.